How are you?
How you doing?
Good. Can you just tell me a bit about how the Dan Levy news broke through? Was it obvious for the last couple of weeks or since over the course of his injuries that he mightn't be able to reach the level? And how did he tell you?
Well, if you wind the clock back, it's 3 years now to the actual injury itself. So I think there was a realisation at that point, like it was such a significant injury, Dan has applied himself unbelievably well, but he's never been unfortunately able to get back to that point where he was at that point in time. So there'll be lots of different conversations. He got back for a period, if you remember, went for surgery again, and he's sort of battled his way back again. And we're just keeping a very, very close eye on him and regular communication about how he's going. And everyone's done everything they can. So from a medical point of view here, the care that Dan's had, Dan, how he's applied himself, and that conversation has been very, very open. And to the club's credit again, they've tried to back him as much as possible and try to do what's the right thing by him. And so we're all, even still, knowing what we know and everything that's gone through, it's been tough for Dan, trying to do everything he possibly can to get himself back. So we're all devastated for him here. He's such a great character, really is. But he only told the guys here on Monday, the rest of the players. He might have had some individual conversation with guys prior to that, but in terms of telling the group here, so it's a tough one when you hear the words being said out loud. I've had some, I suppose, I personally have had some more conversation with Dan over the last while, all through the process really. The guys have been good here. But it's not easy at all. Just because he's so well respected in the group, you can see lots of stuff I've seen. Different comments people have made about him. He's such a special talent, coming through as a schoolboy in particular. Working his way.
On that note, Leo, on that same note, like it's an area that Ireland and Leinster have been stacked with very talented players, but Dan had something that was even more unique, if you let me put it like that. Can you put your finger on why he was such a special player?
Well, he has an amazing self-belief for starters, and even to continue on over the last number of years the way he has to try and get himself back. So the self-belief that he has is pretty incredible, and he brings real presence. Like, what is presence? Like, we try to talk to our players all the time around that presence. And it can be quite a hard thing to describe, but the presence he brings to the group, because of that confidence piece that he has, and there's the playing piece as well. He's in terms of a stopper in defence, the way we describe it. So the game of rugby, like for all its complications and the different intricacies, there's this contact point between the attacker and defender, and Dan had the presence in that contact. Plus, it's the mindset to be able to dominate his opposite as well. So whether that's in attack or defence, so when he's carrying, very, very strong, so that's probably the big point of difference that he brought. And you could see it in that period, around that 2018 in particular. That season, Ireland very, very successful, Leinster successful during that period. You think European Cup final away in Bilbao against Racing, and that's when you need your big players to step up. And Dan, as a young man at the time, 23 years of age at the time, so, and you see the impact he has in those games, both in attack and defence. So his carry in the close quarter stuff, but it's really his presence around the defensive breakdown in particular, where he was just at a different level to everybody else, I think, in that period.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. I just want to ask you about the Pro 14 final in 2016 when Leinster went in as favourites. Is there anything you can take, any lessons from that day in terms of Leinster's approach that could be pointed to as ways to improve when you play Connacht tomorrow?
It's dealing with some of the potential disruptions that happen. I remember even Devon Toner pulling out the day before the game, and it's just always preparing. So we do a lot of that over the course of the season, making sure that we're preparing for all the different scenarios that we face. And, the guys have applied themselves well this week. It's been a reasonably short week. We've a few changes off the back of last week. A number of guys come back in post the Six Nations, so it's just trying to get that balance in the selection. Some of the combinations that we talked about last week, so that bench front row as an example, coming back in. Johnny's coming back in. He had a decent week's training last week as well. The combinations bit is important. In terms of going down to Galway, we know over the years, because we've had some of those experiences, not just that final back in 2016, it's also some of the other days we've had it down in Galway. So it's been respectful of the opposition, how motivated they will be on the day. We know it's not going to be easy down there. They're not going to hand the game to us, are they? It's a massive thing for Connacht playing knockout rugby this time of year. So for us, just making sure that we deliver a big performance ourselves. We can't control what the opposition bring, but it's making sure that we're aware of what they will potentially bring and how they can disrupt our game and / impose their game plan on us. So making sure that we're ready for all eventualities in the moment of the game.
And just the last one from me, do you think Connacht will try to hit Leinster with something different? Because we see, how they play, that's their kind of signature. You've been able to put 40 points on them twice this year. Do you think that they will have to come up with a different approach? I mean, it'd be silly trying the same thing again when you have two examples of how it just hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah, I think they'll always have little plans in around the game. Even we saw that the last day, obviously the game becomes quite difficult for them after the red card early in the game. So, because you're always makeshift, you've come up with some sort of plan in the game. Even for us, we had to deal with a yellow card early in the game as well. So it's making sure we have that control ourselves in the game, so we don't find ourselves in that situation. But yeah, you could see little plans that Connacht had to disrupt our flow of the game. Little things that they do, Marmion, where he would plug in defensively in particular. Some of those plans, I'm sure, probably had to alter for them just because of obviously having to deal with the red card and being a man down all the time. So, we'll be aware of some of what they're potentially going to do. But yeah, I think you always have to be conscious of, and certainly seeing the pictures and scanning for what the opposition are trying to do to us on any given week, really.
Thanks, Leo. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Leo, it's Don. Connacht rely on passion to win. But if you look at tomorrow as the first half of a cup game, they won't be short of it. And what's Leinster's passion for this game?
Well, I'd hope it's pretty high. It's for the tournament. It's this game against a provincial rival, but it's also the tournament. And the tournament means a huge amount to everyone involved in the club. So that's players and supporters as well, and all the backroom team that work hard all year trying to make sure that players are in the best possible shape for this time of year. So a huge amount of work has gone on to get us to this point. It was looking pretty hairy, if you remember, back around Christmas time. But we're in the situation we're in now, and it's off the back of a lot of hard work, and Connacht will be saying something similar, I'm sure, themselves. So it's not quite knockout rugby, but it's obviously, as we know, it's knockout rugby over the two legs. So this is the first half this week, and just trying to get as much as we possibly can out of the game. And it's an unusual dynamic that we haven't actually faced before, but it's still reasonably simple. We just need to try and get what we can from the game, and just see how the game plays out. And as I said, trying to maximise the points that are there on offer, and and build into the following week then as well. So the motivation is high here, I would hope. And the guys have worked hard this week in the short time frame they've had. Connacht are in a similar situation. Obviously, they were away in Treviso, so they're working off a 6-day turnaround as well. So this week, just trying to freshen guys up and work hard in the time that we've had. But again, everyone's just excited for the competition. If even when I walk in here, it's the backdrop and the sound of what Europe sounds like. So we're excited to get going now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Any other questions for the live section? Jerry Curry, I see you there as well.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, hi, Leo. I know you obviously you concentrate on the game in the sports ground in Galway, and as you said, it's a two-legged fixture. Does the fact that you're playing Connacht back in Dublin in 2 weeks, does that a bearing on how you approach the first game?
Yes and no. Like it's you know, we want to go hard at this game early. Really, like we've a lot of respect for Connacht and the ability that they have. There's a lot of their players we know well because they've spent time here, and obviously that makes them doubly dangerous as well because they've a greater understanding of what we try to do. Some of their players as well. So for us, it's just, you know, we'll treat it week by week at the moment. You know, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. And yeah, like we'll see where we sit at the final whistle, and then we make a plan for the following week based on what we've seen. So you know, we've had the back-to-back games in Europe over the years. That December fixture, like, you know, if you think historically in the tournament, but it's a different dynamic because of just the aggregate points difference is different. So yeah, obviously it's knockout as well. So yeah, anyway, we just want to treat it as a normal game where, you know, the game obviously down in Sports Ground a couple of weeks ago is of zero relevance to us because it's a different competition. But, you know, this two-legged fixture, it's slightly unusual, but we just need to make sure we're dealing with what we face at the start of the game and deal with the first half this week and start well, and we'll see what the conditions are like when we get down there and go about trying to impose our game on Connacht and see how they're able to deal with it.